everyone. How are you all? I hope you all are fine. Welcome to our EBS class. As we already started our first lesson, that is, what is history? In that, we have already learned what is past. Do you remember what is past? Well, the past is the time before now. And we have also learned about history. What is meant by history? Yes, history means the study of past event. Okay. In that, we have also learned history, the word history, which comes from the Greek word historia. Okay, which means the story. Okay. In that, we have learned timeline. Timeline is nothing but the drawing which shows different events which had happened in the past. Okay, and that event are arranged in a sequence on the timeline. As we already learned, on the timeline, the events are which are earliest, they are on the right hand side, and the event which are latest, they are arranged on the left hand side. Do you know? There are three types of historical sources. Do you remember which are the types? Well, the first type is oral sources, second one is written sources, and third one is archaeological sources. Now, in today's lesson, we are going to learn about the need to study history. Okay, and we are going to also learn about our family history and ways to study our family history. Now we will start it with the lesson. See, there are some new words that are keywords. The keywords are diseases, journalist, architect, archaeological, sources of history. Okay, write down these keywords in your notebook and also write down the aim in your notebook. Okay, now see the next. See, as we all know that we all different in many aspects. Our likes and dislikes are different from each other. Like that, there are different people who study history according to their interest. Okay, and we may also like different subject to study history. There are different reasons for different people to study history. Now we will see about different people, that why do they learn or why do they study history. Now see. Yes, a doctor. Why do doctors study history? Well, the doctors, they study history to understand the different diseases and treatments which were given in the past. Okay, the doctors study past to understand more about different diseases and treatments for that diseases. It gives them more knowledge. Okay, so to increase their knowledge, they study past event and about the past medical treatments and the past diseases. Okay, now see the next. We know that journalists, they study history to understand the present better. By studying history, they came to know different events and different things which were happened in the past, and these things help them to understand the present better. Understand? Now see, here an architect. An architect study history. Do you know why do they study history? Well, they study history to learn more about the past buildings and the material which were used in the past to construct these buildings. Means they understood from this study, they understood about the buildings and materials. Okay, the materials which is strong and the materials which are weak. Understand? This helps them to construct new buildings in a proper way, or their buildings may long lasting. Okay, now see the next. See, as we all know that we all have different reasons to study history, as we have learned about doctor, architect, journalist. They study history for different reasons. Now, you may also learn history about yourself. Okay, you may learn from your mistakes. Okay, see, if you have got less marks in an exam, then after that you study that why you get less marks. Then you work on that and you study hard. After that you will get good mark. Means you study from your mistakes. You learn many things from your mistakes. What helps you? Well, your history help you to get good marks. Understand? What mistakes you have done previously, you correct all that mistakes and you learn from that mistakes and you finalize that what things you have to do and what mistakes you should not do in the next exam. Okay, it helps you to score good marks in the next exam. Okay, now we will see more reasons why we should study about history. Here are some reasons. Here the first reason, to understand the stories of people in different situations. Studying history helps us to understand the situation and how people fight with the problem and how they find out solution for their problem. These all things we get from the study of history. Then the next point, to know why events happen in the past, means history also tells us about past events. Okay. Then third one, to help us understand the changes in the world, means in previous day we were having larger computers, okay, and now we are using mobile phones. So this helps us to understand the changes in the world. Okay. See, to help us become better citizens, studying history helps us to become better citizens. Means if we study laws, then it will definitely help us to become better citizens. Okay, and it is also fruitful for our country. Now see the next. Yes, we use different sources of history to learn about the past. We already know that we have 3 sources of history. Okay, in that we have oral sources, written sources and archaeological sources. Now these all sources help us to study history. Okay, now we will look at that sources. See, oral sources. Do you know the oral sources? Yes, oral sources are the stories which are told by our grandparents or our previous people. Okay. Now, do you know what we learn from that? Yes, we learn languages spoken during that time. Then we may also learn the everyday activities the people which were doing in that time. Then we also come to know how did they celebrate their festivals. Okay. What oral sources help us? Oral sources help us to understand the languages spoken. Then everyday activities which were people doing during that time. Then we also come to know the festivals and how they celebrated that festivals. Okay. Now we will see the written sources, how that written sources helps us. Yes, these written sources. Do you know how these written sources helps us? These written sources also helps us to learn about past events. Do you know there are famous people which are in the past. We come to know about written sources about that people. Then we also come to know about famous places from the written sources. The written sources such as travel stories, books, letters and many more. From that we come to know about the famous personalities as well as the famous places. Okay, now we will see the next slide. Here we have archaeological sources. As we all know, archaeological sources are famous buildings, then tools, then objects which were used by the people, then coins and many things such as clothes, jewelry, etc. These things tells us about the different tools and materials which were used during that time. Okay, now we'll see next point. Here we have learned about studying history and what is the need to study history. Now we will look over the family history. There are different ways in which we can learn about our family, as we all love to learn about our family members. Okay, there are different ways in that we can learn about our family members, and we can also learn about our family history. Okay, now see the points. Here, from the oral sources like stories, songs and poems, we can learn what we can learn. We can look at oral sources such as the stories that our family members remember about themselves and others. Our grandparents, they tell us their stories. Okay, we may learn from that their experiences. Okay, and how they face the situations. They tell us about their experiences in a situation. Okay, now see the next. Here, from the written sources, we can read letters, diaries and journals of various family members. If we want to study about our family history, for that we have to find out different letters, their diaries and journals of our family members. Okay. Now, next one. Here we can look at the old photographs, clothes, jewelry and different objects or belongings of the past people. Okay, this helps us to study about history, and these all are the archaeological sources. Okay, now I hope you all have understood all the points which I have covered in today's lesson. You have to write all these points in your notebook. Okay, if you have any problem, you can ask. Okay, feel free to ask and write down all these points in your notebook. Thank you.